There aren't many games that are able to move me emotionally. It usually takes a lot, especially when it comes to characters and their performance, or using a soundtrack at just the right time. A good example is the final fight in Persona 4 Golden. Throughout the entire game, when you're in a fight, the song Reach Out to the Truth plays.
Now I face up, I hold up, I reach out to the truth. All around, seeking the seat of the whole moment.
Now that you're at the end of the game, you have to go up against the final boss. It starts off with this dreadful, not so exciting hyped up music you've been hearing the entire time. But just when I'm at the end, I start to hear trumpets playing, and listening closely, it's Reach Out to the Truth. As the music starts, my teammates are defending me, sacrificing themselves so I can make the final blow to end this all. And it made me emotional. Now, I'm sure from the title, you're probably thinking, how could I compare Life is Strange to Persona 4? Just hear me out. The original Life is Strange is not perfect. Most of the characters have major issues with their personalities, especially Chloe. She isn't the greatest. And the acting for the most part of the game is, well...
You're such a poser. If you can't even name a simple nose slide or a tray flip, you should walk on.
Now, why don't you go fuck yourselfie?
Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.
Sorry, but this is the VIP section. Members only. Okay?
Sorry, but I'm on the list, okay?
Not the best. Life is Strange, however, has always had an amazing soundtrack, and the game has some of the best moments because of it. I'm not saying the game is perfect, but I think there's something charming about all three major games that keep pulling me back every time they make another. So why don't you sit back and relax, and let me tell you why I like Life is Strange. Life is Strange is definitely a product of its time. Telltale Studios had the hype of the Walking Dead series that they released in April of 2012, making episodic games the new trend in the gaming community. I myself was a big fan of the show, so it was a no-brainer for me to purchase the game. I loved it so much. I remember going to some of my friends' houses who weren't really into video games like I was, but they were into Walking Dead, and allowing them to make their own choices and get them involved with the game series is a fun memory I have. Especially because I got to see how they would handle certain situations, which would usually be different for what I would originally pick. So of course, when I would hear that the following year they would be releasing a sequel, I hopped right on it. I didn't hate the sequel. I think it had one of those endings where no matter what choice you picked, it would have been a hard decision and leaving more questions than answers. This, however, would open up my world to all the other Telltale games, like Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands, where I became hooked. Then, in 2014, I saw it.
So what do you want? You don't know who the fuck I am.
What are you doing? Get that gun away from me, psycho!
No!
Max Caulfield is a high school girl who just recently moved back to her hometown of Arcadia Bay, where in the girls' bathroom she sees a female student getting shot, when all of a sudden she has the power to rewind time and stop the girl from dying. I think this is something that is able to top the Telltale Games formula because you have the freedom to make your own choices. A lot of the time in The Walking Dead, you're timed when you have to make a response, or let's say you misunderstood the option you picked and a certain character might not like you now. With Life is Strange, you can see all your options without having to restart the game or doing a second playthrough to see every option. Eventually, Max runs into the female student and sees that it's her old childhood friend, Chloe. After catching up, Chloe tells Max that after she left, she became friends with this girl named Rachel Amber, who mysteriously disappeared one day. Max tells Chloe about her recently gained powers, and the two decide to start their investigation. Oh, and there's one more thing.
Holy shit.
After Max uses her powers a couple of times, Max sees a vision of a huge tornado destroying Arcadia Bay. but isn't sure what the cause for it is. Now, it may not come to a surprise to you since I actually enjoy this game, but I am a huge sucker of coming-of-age stories. Young kids being put into dangerous situations where they have to overcome not only what's being thrown at them, but also themselves. Mwah! Sign me up. That's something I can say about all three of the main story games, like Sean and his younger brother Daniel, seeing their father die and now being on the run after they're accused for being the one who killed the cop that shot their father. Sean having to set up to a parental role to not only take care of his younger brother, but also help him learn how to understand his powers. Alex, a young girl for who most of her life was an orphan, and just when she finally found a family, for that to be taken away from her, but still wants to learn about herself, and instead of rejecting her powers, to use them for good, to help the people around her, and understand them to help her show that she's not alone with the loss of her brother. For me, the original Life is Strange talks about so many important topics. For instance, throughout the game, there's a girl in Max's class named Kate. Kate, being typical good Christian girl, is in the midst of a terrible rumor going around the school. It seems Kate was invited to the Vortex party, and someone had slipped something into her drink, where she had started to make out with multiple people at the party, and people took photos of her, garnishing her reputation. Kate starts to get bullied at school, with the kids writing graffiti on the walls or students throwing stuff at her during class. This will eventually start to break Kate, where it pushes her to the point of suicide. Saving Kate becomes one of the hardest tasks in the game, because if you do not do enough investigating in Kate's room and become friends with her, you'll be unable to save her, since Chloe made Max use her powers so much she became too weak to rewind time. Showing Max that she can't always be relying on her powers to save someone, and only the bond she has with Kate will help her step down. I know I mentioned the game's soundtrack, so allow me to touch upon that as I go through the ending of the game. I think Life is Strange has one of the best gaming soundtrack without having a lot of original songs. What I mean by this is the game does have its own original songs, but most of the game's soundtracks are from alternative or indie bands, but I think the specific genre fits really well with Life is Strange. For instance, the opening song To All of You by Sid Matters.
To all of you American girls, it's sad to imagine a world without you.
Or Mount Washington by Local Natives that plays at the end of episode 2.
Face stain in the ceiling. Why does it keep saying I don't have to see you right now? I don't have to see you right now.
Of course, my favorite song that goes with my favorite scene from Life is Strange is Mountains by Message to Bears. You see, by the end of episode 4, it starts to become clear to Max and Chloe what had happened to Rachel. Nathan Prescott, the same kid who shot Chloe in the bathroom and drugged Kate Marsh at the Vortex Club, also drugged Rachel. He planned to drug her enough where he could get her into a stage of unconsciousness, where he would take her to a secret hideout and take photos of her, just like he did with Kate. But, unfortunately, all didn't go as planned. Nathan gave Rachel too many pills, where she overdosed. Max and Chloe are able to find Rachel's location, which is in the dump where Chloe and Rachel would occasionally hang out. This right here is my favorite moment of Life is Strange, because with the use of music, it puts myself in a place of dread as I watch Max and Chloe drive over to the dump. And as much as I wanted to believe they would have found Rachel alive, I knew it would be too good to be true.
Chloe, stop! Look. Please, no. Oh! Oh! That smell! Rachel! Oh. Oh, Rachel, no, please not her! Chloe. Rachel, what? I'm sorry, Chloe. I'm so sorry. I loved her so much. How can she be dead? What kind of world does this?
Ashley Birch does a fantastic job of playing Chloe, and in my opinion is one of the best actors in the entire game. Though Chloe may not be my favorite character, there were just way too many times where she would pull the guilt card out on Max, but she's able to make me feel so much sympathy for this character in this moment. Now, speaking more into Chloe, now would be a good time to talk about the last choice you have to make at the end of the game. The tornado has arrived, as Max and Chloe finally have the dirt on Nathan. But what's the point when the whole town is about to be destroyed? Max tells Chloe that they have to go to the lighthouse, and that's where Max learns the truth.
This is my storm. I caused this. I caused all of this. I changed fate and destiny so much that I actually did alter the course of everything. And all I really created was just death and destruction.
You see, throughout the game, a lot of the times when Max went back in time, she never made any major changes to change the present, except for saving Chloe. The game drops hints at this big finale in minor ways. For example, did you know in every chapter, Chloe can die? Whether it be from fooling around with a gun in episode 2, or during episode 4 where Max goes back in time to change Chloe's father from dying, to then Chloe getting in a terrible car accident where she asks you to take her off life support. Or even though Max goes back and fixes everything where Chloe's back to normal and her father is still dead, it didn't matter because Chloe later on gets shot by the real culprit and dies. Chloe was never meant to live. She was always supposed to die. And now you have a choice. Let Chloe live where the entire town of Arcadia Bay is destroyed with multiple people dying, or go back in time to the day Nathan shot Chloe and let her die. You'll have everyone have zero memories of everything that happened, except for Max. Now, for me, it was a no-brainer. I wasn't a big fan of Chloe for most of the game, but I understand why this option was hard for some people, especially since Chloe is a romance option for Max, so in a way it's losing a lover, not a friend. I just also don't agree with sacrifice one for many, but if this is someone you're close to, I can understand it being a hard decision. For my ending, Max rewinds time. She sits in the bathroom where she has to listen to her friend fight with Nathan and get shot. She reports it to the police, where Nathan and those involved got arrested, and Max and her friends attend Chloe's funeral. If you choose the other option, the town is destroyed, which looks like nobody is left but Max and Chloe. They both take off in Chloe's car, where the two start their life together. I know this game isn't for everyone. I know this game has its fair share of cringy moments and poor writing choices, but I love this game. Those moments I had with my friends with Walking Dead were similar moments with this one. Having me and my best friend go on drives where we discuss what choices we picked and what the outcome of it was, coming up with theories about what the next episode would be, it was fun. If maybe the original Life is Strange might not have been for you, I highly recommend playing the latest installment, Life is Strange True Colors. I just recently played this, and I think this game has so much improvements about its characters, and if you like some of those soundtracks I played earlier, you'll find a lot of songs like that with True Colors. All three of the games have those moments where you can just sit and enjoy the scenery and listen to music, and I found myself with this particular game doing that a lot just to enjoy that moment. A lot of platforms right now have the first episode of Life is Strange for free to download, so if you want to give it a shot, I highly recommend it. But until next time. Hi everyone, thank you so much for watching. I've been meaning to make a Life is Strange video for some time now, ever since I finished the second one all those years ago, but after finishing True Colors, I figured it was about time to sit down, write a script, and get a video out for it. I really hope you enjoyed it, considering my last couple of videos were near related, but I hope you enjoyed this change in content for right now. Well, see ya!